Here we are, ready to start, ready to fart. Welcome to the Typecast
As I
with
think about
your tooty little hosts.
I am having an IBS attack right now. So
Perfect.
if you
So we
heard
don't even
it,
have to pretend.
no, you didn't. The thing
No
is,
fake farts here.
when I think about podcasts that I like, the two other podcasts that I listen to, they're just about like people laughing and having fun together. It's like has nothing to do with the content being revolutionary.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
think we're achieving that so far.
that's the
So
goal.
good.
So good. Okay, great. So today we're talking about an experiment that we ran, and it was eye-opening, I think, as we're
Yeah,
reviewing the data.
my eyes were opened to the possibilities.
I was just going to say that one of our last experiments was what happens if we post on Instagram for 30 days. And I think that's like the natural thing that graphic designers, illustrators, creatives, lettering artists, that's what we think we're supposed to do sort of with like social media. And it feels like a hamster wheel that we like. I just saw someone post the other day that was like an unnecessary evil, like something that we have to do, like we have to find a way to navigate it. And we always say like there are other places that you can do this and there's other ways to get work and get attention. But I think Instagram is always like where everyone's ego gets the most hung up. And so we thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we tried LinkedIn?
Yeah,
So
we've
that's
heard
what we
good
did.
things. We heard a couple of our artist friends were having great successes on LinkedIn, and we heard that, it's kind of like a secret, untapped kind of area where artists are starting to go into and have some good luck with, but not very many people are on there or utilizing it in this way. It's a lot of tech bros, I would say.
They're
A lot
everywhere
of
though.
Yeah, that's
Those
true.
tech bros are on every platform. They'll find you.
Well, yeah, you definitely don't think of LinkedIn and go, that's where artists are. At least I sure don't or didn't. But
Yeah.
now I'm starting to see it in a different light. There's some potential there. There's a lot of potential there, which we found in our experiment, I think.
I also think that the same is probably true for any platform. So like
Yeah.
you can find your people on any platform. I guess like within reason. Like obviously this is not like a generalized like you can find fame and success on any platform, but I do think like
I'm looking for fame,
yeah,
particularly fame.
yeah. I get it. And but you can find like-minded people on pretty much any platform, whether you're using like Blue Sky or X or Instagram or Pinterest, or I guess Pinterest isn't really social media, but maybe it is. I don't know. But TikTok,
Yeah.
like you can find like-minded people in all of these places. So we figured we would try LinkedIn and see like, does anything come of it? So for 30 days, we posted on LinkedIn every weekday. Our rule has always been like this experiment does not run to the weekends because we have a life, guys. Like we're like so popular and no, I'm just kidding. We just have boundaries.
Yeah, I'm just running from engagement to engagement.
Exactly. And no, we just have personal lives and boundaries and protect our peace. So we did 30 days on LinkedIn, and this episode we're going to break down what we found in our lab report.
Yeah, I think just because Instagram is the traditional place that people tend to think of artists going to doesn't necessarily mean it's the most strategic. And thinking about what your clients actually, where they are and what they're doing, and where there are fewer competitors potentially pitching the same kind of thing that you're pitching is something that you can kind of think about instead of just like, I'm going to do what's been laid out as the kind of marketing go-to. So LinkedIn is just full of businesses and business owners and people who are not necessarily in your same artist sector, which is what we run into a lot in Instagram. Is we're like preaching to the choir. We're talking to a lot of other artists, and sometimes it's harder to find our clients who aren't necessarily artists. They're probably more like if you're a branding studio, you want to find businesses that need branding and they're not going to be other artists. So LinkedIn is actually a really interesting place to go and pitch your artwork because you're not surrounded by a bunch of other artists that are pitching the same thing, and it's much easier to reach that client that you're trying to reach.
Yeah. I also want to add that like, yes, directors are on Instagram, but like people, I feel like the vibe on Instagram is like you might save a screenshot and then never come back to it. You might be really strategic on it, but you said like it's not predictable and it's not the most strategic because something can go viral and it can be like I just saw someone today say like this random thing that they did on TikTok of cheese has 3 million views, but all of their artwork has like 300. And it's like,
Yeah, love
it's
that.
so unpredictable. And the virality is like not about being the best artist. It's about something that just resonates. And, you know, a computer decided it was worthy of more views. And like, if you get a ton of followers for one thing and become like pigeonholed into it, like that's not a definition of success. And so, I don't like look at other people's followers on LinkedIn. Like, I'm not like, oh, they have a lot of followers, I want to follow them. Like, you know, it's just like you take away that like vanity metric a little bit, but of
Yeah.
course it's still there. And I think also we like don't care as much about like you're not curating a feed, like a grid. It's just like a totally different approach. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like we learned a lot. So let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Break it
So
down.
I think the first thing I want to do is talk about the first thing that I did in this experiment, which was kind of prep my, what do you call it? Your like main page, your profile page.
Yeah, your profile.
Yeah. I
That's what
mean,
I would call it.
we are, even though we spent a whole month, we are still kind of LinkedIn noobs. So apologies if we're not using the
Yeah.
correct terminology, but yeah, it's not that deep. So I went ahead and like optimized my profile page. I added a new updated profile picture. I made my cover image a picture of my lettering that I thought was like kind of indicative of my style. I updated my, what's your little like subtitle thing that shows up next to your
Mhm.
name, to be
Yep.
hand lettering artist and co-owner of Good Type. And then I made sure that I was linking to our website, our Good Type Studio website, because I cannot believe how few people have a link in the top link space on their profile. Cause I'll be really interested to see somebody's portfolio or something, and then I have to dig everywhere to find it. And you can just put a link right in the top. So you definitely should be doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
My pages are like our Good Type page is linked, and my school is linked, the university that I went to, which I've found so many people reaching out because of commonalities, and we all went to the University of North Texas. So that's,
Huge.
I think,
Huge.
yeah. And I was looking through your connections to Alana when I was in the analytics, and I saw the like percentage of people that are in Rochester or shared your school experience was like really
Crazy.
large. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been getting so many people, even lately after I'm not doing the experiment anymore, reaching out because they're from UNT, which is interesting.
Yeah. I found that to be like one of the most amazing things that I've gotten out of having a degree. Like, I'm not here to say you need to go get a college degree to do a graphic design, but the network that you get of people who went to your school and like you just see that and you're like, oh, okay, yep, like accept, connect, and then it opens up so many doors. So that has been really awesome. And I feel like when you reach out to someone from your college and you're like, hey, I see you work at this place, people are more likely to be like, oh, that's so cool, let's talk about it. And like maybe it can lead to an internship. Or I had someone, actually someone who used to work for me after they graduated, they were like, hey, I saw on LinkedIn that you graduated with this person who works at the company I want to work with. Would you reach out? And so I did. I don't think it ended up leading to anything. I think they changed careers anyway, but it's fine. It did like, I was so willing to be like, yeah, I did go to school with them and I would be happy to recommend you. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good reminder.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to overthink your profile page. I mean, obviously I'm not an expert at this, but from the little bit of research that I did, plus just looking around other people's profile pages, the main thing I think is just being really clear about what it is that you do and what kind of work you want out, or like what you want out of being on LinkedIn. I think just make that crystal clear and as top of the page as possible. Make sure those links are in there. And then I don't know how much it matters that you have like the skills and all that stuff. I had it when I
Yeah.
was getting my internships, and I have some recommendations from like very early on in my career. But if you're, I don't know, maybe it's important if you're like trying to get your first job, but if you're further along, I think it's fine to not have that all fleshed out so much.
We talked about this on our last episode, which maybe is out of order, but I have hand lettering artist as my title, and I'm just realizing I kind of want to switch it to illustrator, which is like um, foreshadowing, maybe. But I feel like Katie and I have been working together more in the studio, and I want to take on more of the like design and illustration components. So that's a really good reminder is like make sure your bio is actually reflective of the jobs that you want to get.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're doing UI and UX right now, but you actually want to be doing something else, like I would probably preemptively switch that. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm gonna switch that.
Or you could just add it to, like, in addition to.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
always
no,
so
I
hard.
want it.
No,
I'm
it's
done.
you're like you're like author, illustrator, graphic designer, creative, entrepreneur. Like it's you have to be
Mommy.
really mommy.
Mamacita.
Mamacita. Yeah, I think I would do like designer and illustrator maybe, and just like take out hand lettering, which is like no shade to hand lettering. I just think we're doing it at Good Type, but Katie's sort of taking the lead on that, which is feeling pretty good. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So make sure your profile's up to date. I don't think it's like that deep of like Katie said, you don't necessarily have to have like each skill or each testimonial or whatever, but just like make sure it is accurate at the
Mm-hmm.
least. And yeah, background image or that like banner image, have your schools or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I think next, let's kind of break down the analytics that came out of this experiment and compare them, me to you, since we
Okay.
each did this independently. And then we can kind of break down more specifically like how we created our posts, what was succeeding and what was flopping, etc.
Why don't we do like you say your stat and I'll say mine so people can hear them side by side? Does that work?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that we're each taking one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did this in May 2025. So May 1st through 31st is when this experiment took place. And I was doing it from my profile. Alana was doing it from her profile. And overall, I'd use LinkedIn just for the tiniest bit of background. I'd use LinkedIn before to get my first job, to get my internship. My first job actually came out of me applying via LinkedIn for an art direction job in Austin.
Interesting.
But
I didn't know
I
that.
just want to follow up and say that my follow-up email was the thing that actually secured the job for me. So if I would not have followed up and sent an email that was like, did you get this? I applied on LinkedIn. Who became my boss was like, I would have lost it in the sea of applications. So I was one of the very, very few people that actually sent him a personal follow-up email, and that made all the difference. So
Smart.
just a little tidbit there. But yeah, I hadn't been on LinkedIn in a really long time. So this was a fresh foray into it. And so the impressions from that month that I got from individual different this is total impressions. So some of them are repeat people. 29,467 saw my posts.
Okay. That's what she's saying. So
Yeah.
in case you're like, wait, what was that? Over 200K impressions. Whereas I only had 26,000. 26K.
But that was up 297% for you.
Yeah. And I had been using it, like Katie said, like I'd always had a LinkedIn and I would post on it like once in a while. Over the past like 6 months, probably like once or twice a month I was posting on it just because I had like seen that it was, I was like, oh, I should probably explore this, but I hadn't committed to like posting regularly. So yeah, I was pretty happy with mine.
I kind of wondered if, and this is just a theory, I have no backing on this, but I kind of wondered if LinkedIn was giving me a boost because they were trying to get me hooked.
Ooh.
Because I hadn't posted in like years. And so I was wondering if they were pushing my content out more than they would to somebody who's been
So
posting.
that's really interesting because if you look at the comments, like your comments are more than mine, but not so significantly. Like your impressions are so much higher. But like I do think the topic that went like quote unquote viral was really hit a button, you know.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Yeah, I don't really believe that there's rhyme or reason for one post to like the more people react to it, the better. But I don't think that there's like a rhyme or reason. Like it's an algorithm. Like it's not someone
Mm-hmm.
deciding this post is worthy of virality. It is, you know, going through a system.
Yeah.
Sometimes it
I
just feels
really
random.
don't, I have no evidence that they were pushing my content out
Of
more.
course.
I just felt like the things were in place to get me addicted, and it
Yeah.
worked in the beginning. So especially with how they do their notifications, like
Mm.
as soon as you look at your notifications, they make sure to pop another one in there, even if it's just like somebody that you're following did something. So they're always trying to get you to come back and like look at it. And I started getting that like little bit of dopamine rush from it, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, no,
So
no, no, it's
I
happening.
think I think it's structured to really get you, like once you're starting, they want to keep you on there, obviously. And then the emails that, do you get the emails from LinkedIn that's like you're on a roll?
Yeah, I get like once a week, and then if someone like
Yeah.
messages me, I think I,
Yeah.
but
But
not
I
every
still
message.
get it's still telling me I'm on a roll, and I haven't posted in like 3 months. But yeah, they send out an email like weekly that's trying to pull me back in, and I end up opening the app a lot. So it's interesting to think of it from the like engineering
Yeah.
perspective, or like what they're doing to actually hook you as a user.
Yeah, you know what else is interesting is like I would overthink like since we finished this, you know, Katie and I have given ourselves the like permission to not need to continue it and to come back to it when we're ready and to like go at our
Yeah.
own pace. And I've noticed that I'm like trying to craft these posts that will like when you're posting every day, it kind of matters a little less. But when you're
Yeah,
posting like once or twice a week, I'm like, it should be good.
that's
Like
true.
it should be better. And so I do feel like the minute we took this experiment away, it becomes more challenging, but also less challenging in some ways. Like, you know what to expect,
Mm.
you feel more comfortable. I don't know. There's like this part of it gets easier and part of it gets harder. Yeah, I think just like on any platform. So, yeah, it was interesting. But yeah,
I
that was
think
our
what I
impression.
would I
Yeah.
think what I would do moving forward with integrating LinkedIn into my workflow would be batch creating
Yeah.
posts one time at the beginning of the month or something for the whole rest of the month. And so maybe that's 4 to 6 posts or whatever for the month. So then that way it could kind of be the best of both worlds, to where yeah, you are posting less, but it doesn't feel as each one is as important because you're posting like
That's a really
you're
good
coming up
point.
with 6 at a time. So I think that's how I might approach it as I
I
move
love
forward.
that. And I want to implement that for all of our platforms.
Yeah.
And also, that makes so much sense because you see people posting like frequently once you're on there and you're like, wow, they are busy. Like, I
Yeah.
get where the impression of people being busy is. And it's like, that might be, especially for Katie and I, we were posting old projects. Like, we had like years of
Mhm.
LinkedIn posting to catch up on. And so I did a couple posts about a recent project I had done because it was top of mind. But then I pulled stuff from like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Yeah, I think also just like I know we're going to talk more deeply about um, the individual posts, but I think I've seen some people say like if you're posting on Instagram, like let's say you're doing a tutorial or a reel or a carousel, just also post it elsewhere. Like you might have to change a couple minor things, but just there's no harm in posting it somewhere else because someone else will find it and that could be the person that books you. And so um repurposing it for sure, but also being smart about it. And so yeah, I think with all these experiences, we're learning and we're gonna find out how we implement it, but we're not putting the pressure on ourselves to like get it all figured out today. We're eating it up, and then seeing what we spit out later.
Okay, so while my impressions was like 230K, the members reached, so the actual individual accounts was 130K. So like 100,000 were repeat impressions.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and mine was just about 8,000 members reached. So Yeah.
Yeah, I
Pretty
was
cool.
reaching a lot of new people that I obviously don't know. I don't think I know 130,000 people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my engagements on my posts were 66,564.
And
And
mine
that
was,
included, sorry, I'll just go
you're
through
good.
the,
Go
yeah.
for it.
And that included around 6,000 reactions, like the little thumbs up or emoji vibes, I feel like. Comments, 275, and reposts, 22.
Mine was 800, about 850 engagements. Reactions were about 750, and then comments 84 and 2 reposts. And
Mm-hmm.
like we said, Katie had like a post that kind of went viral. And
Yeah.
so same, yeah, we're just learning like what does
It's,
virality look like on there too.
I think when it started getting quote unquote viral for me, it was when people started reposting it. So even though for
Yeah.
the whole month I only have 22 reposts, those reposts took me so
Reach.
far outside
Yeah.
of my like individual reach. So the power of reposts, I learned that. So that I think that's a really good takeaway that I'm going to want to talk about later is creating content that is something that people would want to repost and share with their following. So something that's like a nugget that goes beyond just, I made this for my portfolio, something
Yes.
that's like a universal truth or something that's like a lesson learned that people want to share, something like that, I think does really well on LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so following is something that I didn't know was a thing until this experiment. So
Yeah.
your followers are different than your connections.
Yeah.
And sometimes it suggests like when I was going through looking at people's different profiles and I would hover over their name or something, it would be like, do you want to follow this person instead of suggesting for me to connect with them?
Yeah, I still don't know
And
why it does that versus maybe it's like when
I
you
ass-
don't have an immediate
I was
connection.
I was gonna say when you don't have like mutual connections or when that person's following is really large, it might just suggest that you follow them instead. So that will just like make sure that their posts come onto your feed, but you're not actually connected with them to where you can direct message them and stuff like that, and they won't appear on your connections list, if that makes sense. So I learned that during this experiment and when I started getting followers and I was like, what is that? But yeah, my followers grew to a total of 1,400 and 1,072 of those came from this month of experimenting, which was like 76% of my following came out of this month. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I only had a 7% increase. My total following is 2,389. So I think I
Yeah.
had already had like
Yeah,
over 1,000 followers, or I
you've
guess I
done a
had
good
over
job.
2,000. And that was just by like, I think honestly, most of it comes from my book, which I still don't understand. Maybe people are just trying to connect with me from that. So maybe I need to capitalize on that more and share tidbits
Yeah,
from
so
it.
many people find us because of your book. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. I mean,
Um,
your book is awesome, so
Thank
it makes
you. You're
sense.
awesome. And our new
You don't,
book is going to be awesome.
yeah.
We're like
Woo!
really in the thick of it right now.
We're
I
so
know
close.
this is like just a quick aside, but when we started working on it, we were like, we're going to share the process of it. Like we'll keep people informed. And then like you're so in like a silo when you're doing it. And then for us, it's taken like, it's been a really long process in a very good way. We've had a really good
Yeah.
timeline. And
But the
so,
process is also hard to share. I didn't realize
yeah,
how difficult it was going to be because it's
yeah,
like, what do you want to watch a video of me typing on my computer and like
right,
staring at it for 5 hours?
right. So we're like wrapping it up now, and it's so exciting to see it come together. And
Yeah.
now we've got plenty of time to start sharing like what it was
Yeah.
like and our experience throughout it. And actually, we're going to talk at our conference. The conference is our virtual conference. It's this September. It's every year in the fall. And this year we actually have a panel with our agent and our editor. And so if you're curious about that, you can get tickets to the conference and come and hear more about that.
Thekernfriends.com.
Okay, so back to what we were talking about. Profile views. Did we already do
Yeah.
that one?
No, we didn't. So
Okay.
I think you can only see the past 90 days. I couldn't filter it just for the month that we were on there, but for the past 90 days, I had a little over 1,000 profile views.
Well, that's interesting because don't you have to go to someone's profile to follow them?
No, because I think if there's a post that comes up on your feed, I think you can just follow directly from that post, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well then
Which
you
I
know what
could be,
else is
but
interesting is like my connections definitely went up and I had a lot more requests to connect, like a ton of requests to
Oh
connect.
yeah, me too.
And we didn't include that in the stats. I don't
I
know if that is a
No, it
stat.
wasn't. I couldn't find it in the
Right.
analytics. I wrote down everything that was in there,
But
but yeah,
that's
my
interesting
connections were like coming in like crazy,
because connections
which
are really important.
yeah, and I want to talk about that too. This could be a good time to talk about it because I
Okay.
was confused at first, and I still am trying to figure it out how to decide who you're going to accept as a
Yeah.
connection versus who you're going to ignore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm still getting a lot of connections. Like I haven't been on here in a couple of days, and I have what, 10
Oh, I'm
just
gonna
from like a couple of days.
checking.
So interesting. But in the height of when I was posting, it was like 20 a day.
Yeah. Oh, I have 101 invitations.
Oh my God. When's the last time you went through and accepted people?
I usually get an email, but not for all of them. And I just like assume that I'll go. And so, like, if it's someone I know or like see I have a ton of connections, I'll accept it. But then
But
then
how
I get
long
so
have
many
these
in a
been
row.
piling up? Like
A
how?
long time.
Okay. I was like,
I
are
was
you getting?
Oh, yeah, I can see. Oh, these are from like the last month. Oh, wow. Yikes.
That's still a good amount of
Oh, this person left me a
connections.
note.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. No, I already responded. That's weird. Okay, well, I know what I'm doing after this. Anyway, but those are really important because those are people who like sure, followers and connections are both great, but it's just interesting that like we're only measuring followers. That's what LinkedIn has decided to measure, but connections are
Yeah.
really, really valuable too. So,
Yeah, I can see how
yeah.
many connections I have though if I go here. I have 547. If you
Where'd you
go to
find
my network
that? Okay,
and
my network
on the
has
left.
2,000.
Ooh,
That's a
she
lot of connections. Yeah,
popular.
I'm so popular. I went to a bigger school. I don't. It's not big actually. Your school's probably so much bigger because it's in Texas, and we all know everything's bigger in Texas. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're valuable. 2,000. Like I just got really excited thinking I have 2,000 connections, whereas like that's not follower count. And I'm not so worried about having 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. I'm more worried about like getting the right people. I don't know. There's something about the vanity that's like a little less vain. I don't know. So
Yeah,
it's
no, I think the connections, the way that I was trying to decide was so when I get a request to connect, if it has a message attached to it, I'm like way more likely to
definitely.
connect with them because I think that you also, if you're not using the premium version of LinkedIn, you have like a limited number of
Yeah.
notes
Interesting.
that you can add. So that makes me feel like they are
Sure.
prioritizing, like they really want to connect. So even if I don't have like a mutual connection with them, but they left a note, I'm like, okay, well that's someone who seems like invested in making this connection, and so I'm gonna
Yeah.
like look at that. And then I think I was accepting most people, especially if they have a connection to me, unless it was like it looked spammy. Like I went and looked at everybody's profile, and if it looked spammy or just had like not a lot of information for me to go on, then I was like, no. Or if it was like one of those, like you could tell it was a pitch, like I'm a
Yeah.
business coach thing, and I
I
was like,
get a
I'm
lot of
not in the,
those.
I'm not in the mood
I
for
get
that
too
because
many of
sometimes
those.
people will like follow up immediately with the message after, like an automated message from ChatGPT or something, and that tries to get you into like a funnel, and you're like, ugh.
I've really
Yeah.
struggled with this too because when I'm reaching out to someone that's like going to be a connection, I'm like, I don't want to immediately come off the gate and be like, hey, like I love the company you work at, would love to chat. And one thing when I have done it, I recently did it and they didn't respond. But one thing I try and do is say like, I'd love to learn more about your role at the company because then it's about them and not about me. And I think they know like that's like me being curious about maybe working together, but I also think it does say, tell me about yourself instead of being like, I'd love to share my work with you. I don't know if it works because, like I said, the last one I did, which was the most recent, didn't write me back. But
to me, I feel like if I got somebody asking, what's your role at Good Type or whatever,
you're
it
like,
would come
shut
off a
up.
little like,
Ignorant.
no, not ignorant. It would just come off like I have to do work to explain
Yeah.
it to somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I think that making it about them makes a lot of sense,
So
but
what could we
I
say?
wonder if it's, well, so I reached out to somebody and they did reply, who was an art director on a that I saw come up in my feed, who had worked with some people that I was like, oh my gosh, that's the art director behind this campaign that I was like obsessed
Yeah.
with people that I know. So I just did the old like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're the person who worked on this because I've been obsessed with this, which was true.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, it looks like, we're friends with a lot of the same people, something about love, would love to connect or something. And then they responded and they were like, oh yeah, would love to work together sometime. And we connected.
I need to know who this was. You'll tell me
Yeah, I
later.
can tell you. Yeah.
Great. Can't wait. Okay. Anyway, so back to the lab report. Yeah, profile appearances were basically everything was up. And I think the biggest takeaway, besides like, I think we've gotten through like the bulk of what matters for analytics, but I think we had some big takeaways about like, is this worth putting more energy into, right?
Oh yeah. I do
Yeah.
want to go into though the profile appearances thing, because I thought yours was interesting. I think it's like how many times your profile shows up on people's feed as like a recommended profile.
Okay.
So mine was like 32,000 with 85% of appearances. Oh, okay. Yeah. 85% of appearances was from my posts. And then 14% was from comments, but I had like under 1% that was from network recommendations. And you had 9.3% profile appearances from network recommendations. So I think your network is just really good.
Well, I think my network's also bigger than yours, right? Because it's connections to your network. So that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
And then as far as like what came out of it, direct ROI that we could put our finger on, I got asked to have us on a podcast, which we went on, and that was fun. Ooh, excuse me. I'm hiccuping. I'm so excited. I got a lead for a design project, but we lost it on price. Well, this particular person wanted me to come down like just a little bit past where I was comfortable. And so I just was like, I don't think we're matching up on this, but they were like, your price is totally fair. I just don't have the budget. So ended up on a good relationship.
Actually, and we did book a project. I actually booked it on my, they emailed me personally about it. So we did book a project.
Yeah, you've had a couple things come out of LinkedIn for Good Type.
Yeah, but I feel like oftentimes it's also like a culmination. Like I had been trying to get in touch with this brand because we had like run into someone from the company when we were at Crop, and I couldn't chat with them. So I was like looking to connect with this company, and then I was able to make a connection, and then they reached out to me and were like, oh, hey, we want to work with you for this project. And unfortunately the budget was too low. So they couldn't meet our price, but they did ask us to do some sponsored content, which was really cool. So like, I can think
of another project that we worked on too that I think came out of LinkedIn from your messages, and we ended up doing it.
Prices have
again, again, it was a lower one, but we ended up doing it because it was a really cool thing that we wanted to be part of, and it was like kind of related to our design community. So we were like, oh, let's go ahead and do this one. But yeah, I think in general, inquiries out of LinkedIn for us have been lower budget than we've wanted to, but we know people who have found really great clients who are paying what they are pricing. So that's pretty cool. And then somebody also asked me to write an article based on one of my posts, the one that went semi-viral. And that ended up falling through because they didn't, they again,
we're giving the wrong impression.
No, I want to give the honest impression because, I mean, it's what really happened. Like, we got a lot of leads that fell through, but the relationships were established, and a lot of times things come out later on.
Yeah, I will say also, like, just knowing that people are interested in working with us and that we like can get inquiries, like it does add fuel to the fire. And you know, we're just starting this studio. Like Good Type has been known as an Instagram account for over 10 years. Then we offered education, and now we're doing this studio where we're taking on freelance. So just knowing that like there's some traction there has been really, really nice. And like pairing that with what we have working on, like we're working on outreach and we're working on these other things. So pairing that, I think, is like what brings it all together. So yeah, I feel really good about it. But ultimately, a lot of the projects that people reached out to solely on LinkedIn, like never made it to our inbox, were just too low for pricing. And I do want to add that we do not charge very high for our industry. Like we talk to a lot of people, and we have a pricing guide called Price with Purpose. And I would say our pricing is very on like median, and that we're not the top of tier pricing and we're not the bottom tier by any means. And so I think our pricing is very fair and industry standard. And so it's really interesting to hear what these, especially when it's a bigger company, when they're like, we don't have a budget. And we're like, are you sure you don't have a budget? Because it seems like you would. So it's just really interesting it's more data.
Okay, so let's go over our top performing posts and then break down what we've found from these to like what makes a more successful post, or what's more likely to be successful versus what's not. So let's just use my post that did really well as the first example, and we'll link to this post in the show notes so that you can see it for yourself. I think that might be helpful if you're trying to kind of recreate your own version of this on LinkedIn. So basically, Anna and I, can I spill our secret of using ChatGPT to help us?
I was literally going to say, wait, we need to preface this by telling them how we started coming up with ideas.
No, I feel very mixed feelings about it, but it is such a helpful tool. And what we didn't do is give it like nothing and have it spit out like something that we then copy pasted exactly what it was. Like at least I always tweaked it and gave it a lot of information ahead of time so that it felt really custom to me and not like AI generated poo-poo. Yeah, so the first thing that we did was get a list from ChatGPT of like topics that we could talk about for a whole month. And we just used those as prompts to get our wheels turning. And then what we did was look through the images of our work that we had available, because we found that posts with images performed so much better than posts without images. Oh, yeah. So almost all of my posts ended up having images. So I'd take the image, go over to ChatGPT, give it the image to look at, and then I would say, okay, here's what I want to talk about in this post. Here's a story that like I want to tell about my work, and I would give it some of that information, and then be like, create a post that's optimized for LinkedIn. And I ended up working with it to like this is for Pinterest that I started doing this, but I think maybe I did it for LinkedIn too. No, I did the same. I did the image for LinkedIn, but yeah, I think I did actually have it do like a package for LinkedIn to where when it got to know me and what I needed, it would always give me the hashtags as well.
I think that you're just like, you're such a more strategic person than I am, because I would basically take the prompt that was from ChatGPT, and then I would pretty much write the whole thing like on my own. And then I might, if I'm not happy with it, bring it back into ChatGPT and be like, can you just like review this? Do you think there's anything else I should change?
I mean, that's a fine workflow as well. It just depends what
but then I would just like change it again because I wouldn't like how it would sound. But yeah, or I just write it myself.
I did a lot of editing too, but yeah, of course. I gave it a lot of information, and the fact that it could actually see the image that I was going to post was really helpful.
I never did that. That's so smart. And I do want to say, like, you can hate AI. Like, it's totally fine. That's your prerogative. And we are using, we know it's here. We're using it as a tool to help us be more efficient in our work. And and we're never going to create artwork with it, and especially not claim it as our own. That's, you know, a
No.
topic for another day, but I'm learning so much about like how I could actually train it to help me even more. So use it or don't, that's totally fine. That's not what this podcast episode's about, but yeah, it's really cool to hear how I never thought to put the image in and be like, what can I talk about? Like, how could you use this?
I felt like it was, I got to a point where I felt ethically comfortable with what I was doing and how I was using ChatGPT. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is like a gut check for yourself. And there's a lot of noise and opinions out there, and we should all do our research. But at the end of the day, it's really important that we just personally feel good about it. And I felt like I had enough ownership over the posts that were coming out of it to where I felt really comfortable posting it, and I didn't feel like gross.
You did, and they're based off of your artwork that you said, look at this, and here's this, you know, basic copy. Help me, you know, finesse this. And we totally take it and make it our own. Like, we don't talk the way that ChatGPT talks. And so it's really just a rough skeleton that we can use with pieces we've built. Like, it's like we've put in some shapes, like, not hypothetically, we're not actually putting it. We put in some words, and then we're like, can you rearrange these and see what happens? And then they're like, and then we're like, oh, let me fix that.
I think the biggest barrier to posting on social media, and especially posting consistently, is time. And if you find a tool that can help you be quicker and more efficient, but without like losing your soul, I think you should use it if it feels good to you. And that, I mean, it really helped me make this experiment achievable without spending my entire day crafting the perfect post. So it really did help me in the end. Just going over
the most important thing that we have.
Yeah. So just going over the anatomy of this post that did really well. And by the way, when I say it did really well, it got 148,000 impressions, which was 65% of my total impressions for the month came from this one post. Members reached was 109,000, which was 84% of my total members reached for the month. So without this post, it would have been 84% less reach, which is crazy. The actions were 3,500, comments 56. Oh, it says here, this is interesting, repost 64, which is more than LinkedIn told me my reposts were for the month.
Right.
But my theory was that it was some of the reposts got reposted and it didn't count that maybe towards my total.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so interesting. So 64 versus I think it said 22 in the other analytics was how many reposts I got. Maybe that was like directly from the post. So 64 reposts. Interesting. And then it also gives you demographics.
That is so
17
cool.
17.5% was graphic designer, 6% art director or creative director, and then 46% were entry level and 20% were senior level. So I thought that was really cool that you can see that.
So about 26% of those are people that might be able to hire you at their job. That's like huge.
Yeah. We love to see it. So the post itself, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's hard to train your brain to think of like, how can I make this post that is relative to my peers, where they want to see my work and they want to see what I'm working on, but also positions me in a way that an art director will see it and say, I like the way this person thinks, I want to hire them. Like, I think that's the biggest shift on any platform.
That's the cool thing too, is the overlap between what we do and what art directors do. It works to like have general conversations about design. Like, we're all interested in that. So it gets us in front of them, and also it puts us in a position of getting hired, in a position of like knowing what we're talking about. So that is actually really helpful. And I gave ChatGPT this information as well of like who I wanted to see my posts. So it helped me position in that way, which was really cool. So the anatomy of the post itself, it's an image of a poster that Alana and I made for a talk that we gave in Tulsa. It just says, it's a poster, somebody holding this poster that says "Make nice things with good people," and it's just a really cute little lettering piece with some little floral elements, and it's just nice and friendly. What I kept hearing from people who would either message me or I saw in the comments a lot that people were like, oh, it's so refreshing to see art here on LinkedIn because, like I said, a lot of the posts are very AI generated without finesse, or it's like AI talking to AI, or it's like tech bro stuff. And seeing a piece of art on LinkedIn is more rare than it is on Instagram. So people were saying, oh, that caught my eye because it's not like all the other content that I'm seeing.
That's so
Um,
interesting because I see so much of the content where it's, I think just because I've curated who I follow and I've been
right.
like kind of a little bit more active on it than you have, maybe like not necessarily posting, but kind of
Yeah.
checking it. Um, and
Well, we
I
see
see so
that
much
see that
art.
because that yeah, but
That's who we're following.
potential clients aren't necessarily seeing that same thing. They're
Right.
seeing like
Oh,
their boring industry recap stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so it has that photo really big at the bottom, which I think is also helpful. The size that that photo appears is really large, so that's eye catching. And then with LinkedIn posts, it shows like the first, I don't know how much it is, the first couple lines of your post. So you
Right.
always want to try and make that really impactful because you have to click to expand it and see the rest. So you want to make it clickable. So mine starts with, but can your font do this? And it was based on the idea that ChatGPT gave us originally in the prompts that was like, why would you hire a lettering artist over just using a font, which is basically like a reason to hire us. And so then it's just a list of like what lettering does that fonts can't do when you can get kind of customized. I mean, we love typefaces. Obviously, we love all type, but we specifically do lettering because of how you can customize it for each scenario. And yeah, so we just did a list of why it can help, and then at the end it has a CTA that's like, if your brand or project needs something more personal than a font, I'd love to help bring it to life. Send me a message and let's talk. And then a series of like 8 hashtags, and that's it. And I think the total character count, it's 185 words. So that's it. Yeah, it's pretty darn
That's
simple.
pretty great. Yeah. Should I go over mine?
Sure, let's do that. And then we can recap with just general best practices that
Yeah.
we've found.
So my top performing post was just because you can design it, build it, do it doesn't mean you should. And I talked about like the dynamic, I think, between Katie and I, and like when I'm gonna look at the post again. I'm like looking at my notes. I'm like, wait, what was I talking about? And I've got all the stats here. The impressions were about 4,000, and members reached was like 2,500. Yeah, and I talked about how in the post I talked about how like working with Katie has changed my workflow, and I shared a picture of the two of us and then a sketch of mine and the finished product from Katie. And so that was 3 images. There were 10 comments, no reposts, but some really lovely comments. And I'm just realizing I didn't even respond to all of them, which is so bad. I'm really bad with notifications, which like
Hmm,
Katie's probably surprised by that because
I
I
am.
like hate having notifications. I like to make sure everything is read and like taken care of. Um, but like on Instagram, and I never look at notifications, and on LinkedIn, like unless I've gotten an email, it's like it's dead to me. I don't know. But you should respond to comments. Okay, so yeah, the hook was just because you can design it, build it, do it, doesn't mean you should. And I think the prompt for this was basically like talk about the process of working together. And that's a pretty general prompt. So I was like, what would I find interesting about learning about that process? I used hashtags. My word count was 235. The ones that are long, I end up opening in like a new tab and then never reading. So um
Yeah.
yeah, I think, we'll put a link to each one of these, like Katie said, in the show notes, so you can actually see the actual post and the
Mm-hmm.
performance and see if that's like interesting to you. In our other posts, we had like our top three. I think pairing the copy and the story with the image is really what makes
Yeah.
it do well. It's like nobody cares about just seeing a pretty picture; they want the story behind it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where LinkedIn. I don't think people read captions the same way on Instagram.
Yeah, just a couple more just general explanations of what the posts were about so you can get some more ideas was like one of my posts. I was like, oh, I really love this color palette. So I'm going to go ahead and just write, like, share this image and then talk about how a small color palette can have a really big impact and then give some tips on how to build your own color palette that works really well. That one was my second highest performing. And then my third highest performing was a project that I did that I called, what did I call it? Pretty ugly words. There we go. So I call it pretty ugly words. And I basically illustrated words that I find really gross to say or hear as like really beautiful pieces of art. So like viscous, curdle, loogie. And I just talked about passion projects, and my hook was not every project that pays off has a paycheck attached to it. People really resonated with that. Yeah, and Alana's were really similar vibes. A lot of them were lessons that we've learned, or, you know, it's not just here's this pretty picture, end of story. So all that to say, I did kind of collect general findings as far as like anatomy of what worked for us for a successful post. So the first thing is a strong hook, often a question. So you want to optimize the text above the fold, which is that text that gets shown in the preview before somebody clicks to open the full post. So, but can your font do this was the one that did really well. Alana's was just because you can design it doesn't mean you should. So those kind of hooks that make you want to click and see the whole thing. And then clear, relatable value. So an example, here are 4 reasons brands and creative teams hire a lettering artist instead of X, Y, and Z. And lists tended to perform really well because just breaking it down clearly with real world, like benefit driven reasons that are easy to see and just like skim over was really helpful for people. And so it's a way to educate your audience and sell your own value without sounding salesy, which is really lovely. I think also timely commentary. So if you weigh in on hot button topics, even if it's just like a quick nod to it, like if you're gonna weigh in on AI or something, anything that people are just really kind of buzzing about is interesting. And like our approach to weighing in on AI was like, oh, lettering adds a human touch that's really needed in the current landscape, hence all the stuff going on with AI. So a lot of people in the comments were like, heck yeah.
I also think a repost with your own thoughts is like a nice way to chime into a conversation, like leave a comment. But I've really enjoyed like having an opportunity to repost someone's work that I think is really cool, but then adding like a here's why I'm reposting it. Like, in case you don't follow this person, I really loved how they said this. So it's like a twofer because you're uplifting a friend or someone who you admire, but then you're also adding your own story to it without, I really hate seeing the same group of like design influencers say the same exact thing. And I'd rather we just took what someone else said and said, I love how they said this. Here's what I would add, or here's what I would underline. And so I think on LinkedIn, it's really easy to do that without.
That's what a lot of people did when they reposted my stuff. Some of them just reposted it, but quite a few people added their own 2 cents, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And you can obviously do that on social media as like a design influencer as well. But I feel like I see a lot of people doing the exact same content where it's like, add 3 things to your branding package. And it's like, you could take that original post and then add to it instead of just redoing it exactly. Because like, that's not original. So yeah, I love that option to be able to do that. And you can either repost, like just repost it, or you can repost it with your thoughts. And I think that's a cool option. Anything else?
Yeah, a couple more things to go with the ones we've already highlighted. Making sure there's a low pressure call to action in your post is really helpful. So you want to tell people what action you'd like for them to take. So maybe that's commenting and interacting with the post, weighing in with their thoughts on whatever you're talking about, or maybe it's like, send me a message, let's like work on a project together.
I really hated this part.
The CTA?
I found it challenging because it feels like on Instagram you can do like the comment and I'll send you this, and it feels like an exchange. But I I worry about it on other platforms. I don't know if it's just like because I'm newer to them, but I kind of struggled with that. Like usually I would just say like message me or like manifesting more of this type of project. So it's like kind of opening a door. But I felt like I struggled with that part, the CTA.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't really struggle with it. I'm because I kept it low pressure. I wasn't like for only $5.99 you can.
You can hire
So
me.
I was just like, if you
Yeah.
want to work with me, like send me a message. Like I don't feel bad saying that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
maybe
shouldn't.
that's just a. I mean, I think it's really important to have a CTA. So
It is.
maybe it'll just come with
I think
being
it's the
more comfortable
wording.
in the
And
platform.
yeah,
Yeah.
giving it low pressure for sure and just saying like this, if you want to work on something like this, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's like the
I'm
conversational
ready and
tone of it.
waiting.
I'm
Yeah.
literally waiting.
And then the bold visual that's eye catching is really important. So all of my posts that didn't have a visual just completely tanked. I don't know if all of yours did or if you tried many without a visual, but yeah,
Well,
that definitely was the case for me.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried like maybe three and oof, they were like barely seen.
Yeah.
Smart
Nobody
hashtag
reads. I'm
use.
just kidding. Just
Smart
kidding.
hashtag use. So you want just like a couple broad enough hashtags. I am certainly not a hashtag expert, but this is what my research told me. So I did it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helped. And then just overall, like a tone that feels personal and not corporate, I think is really nice for to break up the LinkedIn feed. And it feels more authentic to me anyway. I would feel really bizarre not talking in a casual kind of way. So that's what I did. And I think it worked really well for me. And the worst performing posts had no photo or video attachments, had too much text in the hook, or wasn't inviting to read, or the hook gave away the answer to the whole thing, so they didn't feel like they needed to read it. Or there, not much of a clear relationship between the photo and the text. So some things that I tried was like sharing a blog post of mine that had my favorite lettering reference in business books, and it just like popped up because I put it as a link, and it just popped up as a really small little thumbnail image, and it got like 12 likes, which
Love
was like
that.
nothing. And same thing when I tried to post our YouTube recap of our experiment for Instagram. So it was on YouTube, and I posted the video link, and it again popped up just as a small little embedded thumbnail, and it got 5 likes. Wow. And that is some grade A content that I think would have performed really well. So I think if I would have, I don't know if I could put the whole video like native in the platform or something, or if I could have like posted a thumbnail of the image like bigger, but it certainly didn't perform that way. Yeah, so just let's kind of end with our overall feelings. And for me, I have a couple bullet points that I kind of wrote out, and then we can hear from you, Alana. So for me, with my workflow with ChatGPT, it took maybe between 5 and 30 minutes every day. I probably averaged like 10 or 15 to create a post. So that felt like not much of a lift. Whereas if I'm trying to post something on Instagram, it can take a lot longer for me. So I felt like this workflow was more manageable. I occasionally struggled with content ideas or coming up with something for the day, but again, having those prompts from ChatGPT in the background, and just like if I was really struggling, I could just upload an image of my work and say like, I actually don't know what I want to talk about with this. Can you come up with some suggestions? And it was like, heck yeah, girlfriend. Sorry, I didn't mean to be hoarding my secrets, but now they're out there.
I did want to add though, one of the things that I did just while you're sharing your
go for it.
I'll just chime in with some of mine. Is one of the things that you can do, like we talked about batch creating, and on LinkedIn you can schedule a post. And so a couple times I had scheduled a post for like the next day, like when I knew it was going to be like a crazy day, or if I just had an idea and had already posted or something. And I found that to be so helpful. And ideally I would set it up where I schedule like a whole week in advance, or like 3 days, and then that gives me the flexibility to add another post if something comes up and it's like top of mind, because rarely I'm posting about something that's happening in the moment, because like we said at the beginning, like we're like in the thick of it. Like it's really hard to post in the moment about what you're working on today and what you're learning, especially when you're working with a client, because then they're going to see it, and that's, I don't think you want to do
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, that was really nice so mine was about the same, like maybe 10 minutes every day, but then sometimes I would schedule them in advance. But I never created new art. It was literally just taking something I've done and attaching a lesson to it.
Mm-hmm. I did find that when I had that post that did really well for me was like my second or third post that I made, and I just had a big dopamine rush when it did really well, and I was just like, wow, like this is the power of LinkedIn. So I kind of got mildly addicted for a second there, and I just got kind of addicted to like chasing that dragon, and then I never caught it again, because some of my posts did well after that, but not nearly that well, and I was like, dang it, how do I recreate that? So yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster of my my dopamine release there, but
Yeah.
I thought that was, I always pay attention to that, because I know that the dopamine release is like there to create the the addiction feeling, and I just
Yeah.
want to be very cognizant of like, okay, I'm aware that this is happening to me and I don't want to get addicted to this, and I
It's
don't
on
think that that's
purpose.
healthy. So
It's on purpose.
I think it's good that after this experiment I took some time and stepped away.
Yeah.
Um and then yeah, I think overall, just LinkedIn can feel gross with the people who are using it in like a really manipulative, like really clear tactical way. I mean, obviously, we want to be strategic about how we're using LinkedIn, but you can just tell when people are just wanting to get something and they're not giving something in return. And it just feels like ew. So I think I felt best when I was being my authentic self and showing up like that, and people were responding best to that as well. And I think that's just a lesson for showing up anywhere,
Yeah.
just leading with authenticity and not trying to necessarily blend in with the style of post that you see most on that platform, but just
Yeah.
going with what feels right to how you are as a person. And then finally, I really enjoyed growing my connections a ton, and I think that LinkedIn is more of a long game, as a lot of these platforms are, but LinkedIn especially, because it's really just planting those seeds, and so many things in life that come to you are eventually come to you because of the people that you've met. Like it's all about relationships. So it's really cool to have a social media platform that prioritizes making those connections, and that allows you to have these kind of DM engagements that and the just ability to like connect with people, put them into your network is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think in the future, I just want to show up like every week or two and batch create things, and then just make sure I'm prioritizing those like real personal messaging opportunities and like the real human moments. And I think that's my summary of how I feel. Do you have anything to add, Alana?
I think you crushed it. Yeah. I feel like we hit it all on the head. And I personally am planning to post regularly and really enjoy those connections on there. It just feels different.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels kind of like walking past a coworker that you didn't like know you like in a big corporation. You're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, hey, you work here too? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because you're both creatives and, you're not just in different departments or something. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I'd like to make more room for it in our batching process. So, yeah.
Hopefully this was helpful
Post.
for you all to decide if you're interested in dipping your toe into LinkedIn, and gives you some strategies for doing that.
Awesome.
Yay!
Cool.
Tell us how it goes if you do try it. And don't forget to leave a review on whatever platform
Please.
you're listening to this podcast on. We so appreciate it. And it allows us to help reach more artists and help more people who are going through the same things as us. And yeah, we just want to expand that community. So thanks in advance.
All right. All good things.